The federal Liberals are holding their second day of meetings at a cabinet retreat in Hamilton. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau beginning his meeting with Hamilton Mayor Andrea Horwath. Trudeau and his cabinet are expected to talk about their strategy for tackling inflation and making the country more competitive. Meantime, Transport Minister Omar Alghabra is promising changes to strengthen air passenger rights during the spring session.
The fact of the matter is the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic has had a tough impact on the aviation sector. The aviation sector is recovering, but there is still a lot of work to be done. We're dealing with labor shortage. We're dealing with airlines that is trying to recover from the pandemic. We need to make sure that customers are protected during this period. Our government is putting our head down and getting work done. We're taking action. We're going to strengthen the passenger bill of rights. We're going to ensure that airports have the tools that they need. And we're going to make sure that passengers are protected.
And for more on the federal Liberal caucus retreat, we're joined by CTV News political commentator Scott Reid. Scott, thanks so much for being here. Let's talk about priorities, because that's kind of the priority, so to speak, right now for the Prime Minister, for his cabinet members as they get ready to return to Parliament. So what are they talking about?
In the broadest possible terms, you kind of heard a hint of it from Minister Alghabra there. You know, it's going to be, we're going to work hard, keep our head down, and try to get results, take action. That's going to be the overall mantra, because if there's a knock on this government consistently is that it makes big promises, but does it get outcomes? And so you're going to hear that in a whole variety of fields. So you're going to hear about passports later today. What measures have happened? What measures are in place? What measures will be in place and have results improved? But when it comes to explicit priorities, I mean, we all know the name of the game. There's only three things you're focused on right now: the economy, also the economy. That's what they're going to be talking about today, and that's what they're going to have to convince Canadians coming out of this retreat that they are absolutely preoccupied with.
Well, let's dig into that some more, because right now anyone, around the dinner table, they're talking about inflation, and the cost of groceries and everyday life. The Prime Minister wrote a letter last week saying he was committed to addressing that issue. I guess, what do the Liberals need to do to get the wheels in motion to tackle that?
Well, the truth of the matter is, of course, there's only so much they can do in terms of altering the fundamental underlying factors that are causing the cost of living crisis. The Bank of Canada controls monetary policy. Boy, do I sound boring, but that's the reality of it. So what do governments do in situations like this? Demonstrate that they are trying to look out for the little guy. So that means lower income Canadians who are particularly affected, making sure you got measures in place, put a little more money in their pocket, take some of the burden off their shoulders. You got to look like a frontline government, that you're focused on, as you say, the kitchen table. What are you doing? If you can't affect the price of groceries, then you sure as heck better be seen to be affecting any effort, any whiff, any cent around profit taking. So you got to be vigilant. So you're going to hear a lot more activist measures from this government, that where they can, they will protect people. Where they can't, they're going to do everything they can to get the economy recovering and moving quicker.
How much do you think the federal Liberals are talking about COVID during this retreat, Scott?
A ton. I mean, it's the through line to so many of these challenges, as you heard from the minister. I mean, what's affecting the air transport sector? Overwhelmingly, it's the legacy of COVID. What's fueling a lot of inflation right now? Well, it's a legacy of COVID, and so on and so forth. But in terms of public health measures, I don't know that that's going to be a huge preoccupation. I think basically that infrastructure's set. There is, of course, the corresponding debate and discussion around a healthcare deal, which feels like it's on track. It feels like Trudeau, sometime maybe in the next month or so, is going to pop that First Minister's meeting. They'll probably have a deal in place. He'll be there to sign it, to ink it, and you'll see a transfer of literally tens of billions of dollars towards all the provinces that should be and will be explicitly dedicated toward health, and probably some other specific areas like long-term care as an example.
Yeah, we've heard Premier Ford talking about wanting to get that deal done. CTV News political commentator Scott Reid, thanks so much for your time and your perspective.
Thanks, Beatrice. See ya.